Hello and welcome to Intern Insights. I'm your host, Dr. Bruce Finkley. I'm the Mass Communication Internship Coordinator here at the University of Montevallo. Internships allow students in all academic disciplines to gain valuable real-world experience, and this web series is designed to highlight some of the interesting things that our Mass Comm interns are doing. On this episode, I'm joined by Sloan Poppell, who interned at Wsfa, the NBC affiliate in Montgomery, Alabama. Sloan, thanks so much for joining.
No problem.
So I want to start out with just what's the typical day like for an intern at WSFA?
Well, in the beginning, I went to different roles and shadowed. Like, I would get there at 9:30 and I would stay all the way till 6:30. And the first week I shadowed editors. I just went in their booth all day, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I just watched them get ready for the show and then watch them execute all the commands of a show, cut the video and roll the video during a live show. So that was really neat. And then after that, I sat with the producers a lot who are in charge of mainly writing the shows and put it in stacking rundowns and getting things together. So I shadowed them for a good bit. And then sometimes I went out with reporters. If there was a story I could go out with, I would go out with a reporter and maybe help them write up a script when they get back and watch them edit, and if they asked for feedback, I would talk to them. And then sometimes they would let me take the raw footage from that and shoot my own stand-up, and I could come back and we would compare our packages, and we would talk about things that made it good, things that I could work on. Mm-hmm. And then I really found where I was comfortable with, and I narrowed down basically what I wanted to do, and I'm really interested in producing. So after a couple weeks of shadowing just about everybody, I narrowed it down and shadowed mainly producers most of the days and just sat with them. I mainly sat with the 4 and the 5 producer, and so the 4 o'clock producer is also co-produces the noon. So I'd come in and he'd be working on the noon and he'd show me how to stack things. And then after a little bit, when I got more confident with my writing, he'd let me write some stories for the show, and he'd critique it, and sometimes he'd would put it in there just the way it was. So it was really interesting.
That's an awesome feeling.
Yeah.
I remember when I was an intern, and you go and you write those stories, and you're like, this will never make it on TV. And then I remember the first time I had a producer that I was interning for, she looked at the script I wrote, and she was like, "That's perfect." And I was like,
"It's a good feeling.
I don't have to change anything," and it ran that way. It was fantastic. So tell me, what made you want to intern at WSFA?
Well, I grew up in Montgomery, and it's the station that I had always watched. And throughout high school, I just knew that I wanted to do news. So when I came here, and after I learned so many things, that just seemed where I would go, where I was most comfortable with, and where I knew the area. And so that's why I went to WSFA.
What was the application process like? Each place is a little bit different. They make you jump through different hoops. But what was it like for you at that station?
I looked on their website, and it had a link to the application, and it had an email address. And so about April of last year is when I sent it in for fall. And he said that was great. And closer to about summer, he would let me know about an interview. So I came in and interviewed, and they called me and told me that I got the position. So I was really excited about that. But other than that, I didn't have to send in like a resume tape or anything like that. It was just like a paper and then an in-person interview.
Right. And and for most internships, stations realize that people don't really have enough stuff at that point to send in a tape or send in examples of their work, because really that's why you're going to the internship, is to get the experience, to have those elements. So that you can then put together a resume tape. So it's nice that it was a simple process for you to be able to get in. So we, in the classroom, we try to recreate what real life is going to be like for you guys, whether it's at a newspaper, magazine, you name it. But there are things that happen in the real world that we can't simulate here on campus. And a lot of those are kind of the curveballs that get thrown at you in the real world. What were some of those type of things that surprised you when you were there at your internship that you had to deal with?
I would say one of the biggest things is obviously breaking news. Like, we don't have, you teach the newscast class, and sometimes we had the opportunity for breaking news and we would fit it into the show, but a lot of times in my internship, we had the breaking news where they thought there was an Ebola outbreak in Montgomery. And it's like, when you're producing, you write this entire show, and something like that could happen, and you just throw it in the trash can, and you have to start over, and that is basically your show, is just covering that nonstop. So that was the most interesting thing to me, is to experience breaking news.
Okay. Yeah, and that's something that in the real world, when it happens, I mean, you could have worked on your show all day, and I remember the angriest I would get was when there would be severe weather, because my show was done, and it could be like 2 minutes before showtime, and they're like, "Oh, there's a tornado," and I'm like, there goes a whole day's work that no one gets to see. But you have to have it ready just in case severe weather goes away.
And another thing I would say that's just completely different is producing and like watching people booth a show and stuff like that, because you have to just manage your time and keep up with the stories and the time you have left, and you do have to like get rid of things that you already spent your time writing and just throw it out the window.
So with your internship, you're learning all of these things, but when you come back for class, how do the things that you've learned at your internship help you be a better student now?
I would say I've definitely improved my writing capabilities, especially getting faster at writing. Used to take me, when we would have stuff in class like a Wsfa, it would take me the entire class period to write like a 45-second Wsfa, and you just don't have time like that on the job. And so I would say that is the biggest thing that I've noticed. And I've been able to come back with Falcon Fever and stuff and like apply the things that I know about making packages and camera shots and stuff like that to real world stuff.
Well, and I like that you mentioned writing, because it makes me think about when we were in New York City for the NBS convention. We had the opportunity to go to the Today Show. And while we were there, we saw Ann Curry, who was the co-host at the time. And one of the things that I asked her to tell you guys, I was like, what's the number one thing that someone that wants to go into the journalism business needs to know? And she said, it's writing. It's got to be writing. And it is. If you can't write, you're not going to go very far. They can teach you how to operate a camera. They can teach you how to edit. They can teach you how to sound good on camera. But if you don't have that natural talent of writing, that's tough. That makes it a lot harder to get a job.
That's what one of my producers told me. I was shadowing her, and when she said that she liked my writing, she was like, see, once you have this down, like everything else will come quickly. Like ENPS, we can teach you how to, that'll change from places to places, like how you handle situations. But your writing is the one thing that is constant throughout any station that you go to.
That's exactly true. So you are an example of an internship success story at its very best. So tell us about how you were actually able to transform your internship into a real job.
Yeah, I was very fortunate to get that opportunity. About a couple weeks before my internship was supposed to be over, a position opened up, and it's a news content specialist position. So basically during the shows, I'm on the floor running camera or running prompter, and when we have guests come in for Alabama Live, like getting them to come in and mic them up and make sure the set and cleaning up the set and stuff like that. But that's for during the shows. We have like a good 4-hour span where we don't have shows going on, and that time I can spend going back upstairs to the newsroom and shadowing producers and working on my writing and help actually write for the newscast. So it's basically like a foot in the door position. I really love it. My hours are from 4 a.m. until 12:30, which that's just part of the business, I guess. But I've gotten a lot of experience just from doing that. And my news director just came to me one day and said, you know, we've done a good job, and we know that they knew that I wanted to produce, and he told me that that was something that they were looking for, so they wanted to bring me on to train me to do that. So hopefully eventually I'll get to produce and a position comes available. So.
Well, you have been a success story all throughout your internship, so I'm pretty sure that'll open up for you probably pretty soon. So last question, what advice would you give to a mass comm student that is looking to intern at a place like you did?
I would say look early, apply early for internships, because you may be the best candidate, but you might come too late and they already filled up all their spots. But once you are actually at an internship, I would say do anything and everything that they ask you to do. Just be willing to just soak up all the information that they give you and apply it. that's one of the biggest things is just don't go there. There's people that could just come and just sit and, you know, you're there, you're doing your duties. You don't really have any duties. You would fulfill your internship just sitting there all day and just watching, but look for opportunities to do things, because that's where I learned the most is when I would help write, because you could sit and watch a producer, and if they don't have anything for you to do, it's nice to watch them run ENPS, but at the end of the day, I really had to do it myself to like learn about it. So that's the biggest thing I would say is just volunteer to do anything and everything, no matter what it is, and make a name for yourself. And
exactly.
So when people say, hey, there's something that needs to be done, just volunteer to do it.
Well, and I know I said the last question was the last question, but I want to talk about one more thing that you made me think of in your answer. You actually had the opportunity to go and report for a day with Alabama's 13, the NBC affiliate in Birmingham. And, you know, that was, granted, it's not a full internship, but it's kind of a crash course in a day. What was that experience like, and how did it help you as a storyteller?
It was so much fun. It was kind of hectic. We basically went to NBC that morning, and we were covering the Birmingham Magic City Miracle, so it was like a day-long community-wide service project. And we went there, and we kind of had like a news meeting. The news director there sat with us and told us basically what he was looking for, and we had a list of places that we could go, and we all picked one. It was like our assignment. And so we all got a camera and a tripod and just took a notepad, and we just went out to our different places, had like an hour or two to get footage, come back, edit it all, and put it into a live newscast. So basically we had the opportunity to experience what reporters do every day. But what we're used to sometimes here is, you know, we have about a week or two to work on a story. So that was just a really great learning experience to put it all into one day. So that we had that real life experience, and it was kind of crazy. And you got out of your comfort zone. We had to talk, you know, to complete strangers, just like reporters do all the time, and just think quickly on your feet and edit quickly, and it was just a really fun experience.
Well, and it made me think too that you were talking about after the webcast was over, y'all were talking with Harmony Mendoza, the meteorologist, and you were talking about interns, and she was mentioning, oh, we had one, she was so good. And when she said her name, we realized that it was our friend Savannah Kidd, who we actually featured on Intern Insights back in the spring. And, you know, she was an example, too, of those interns that go in and do everything, talk to everyone, do as much as they'll let you do. And she was able to get a job producing over in Georgia. But it says a lot that people remembered her name. That, you know, when I interned at 13, there was a guy that came in and he would bring cupcakes and cookies and real cakes, and he became known as the cake intern. Now, granted, it was a delicious, you know, it was always good. But there was one day somebody said something about, man, I wish we had a cake. And he was like, I'll go and make one. And so he left the station, went home and made a cake and brought it back. And I'm like, how is that going to help you be a better journalist?
Right.
So I think, you know, making sure that you're not wasting that time there, because not everybody gets that opportunity.
Right. And you're spending the time there anyway, so you might as well make use out of your time, you know?
Exactly. You have your whole life to bake a cake. But you only have so long to learn at your internship. Sloan, thank you so much for stopping by.
I appreciate it.
That's all the time we've got for this episode of Intern Insights. If you'd like more information about mass communication internship opportunities, feel free to stop by my office here in the MassComm building, or you can email me at bfinkley@montevallo.edu. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time.